Hello and welcome on into Wake Up in the Den. It's the boys here inside the studio. No Ku'ule Agbayani today, just Paul Brecht and Michael Lasquero. Thank you so much for joining us here on 95.1 FM, AM 760, HawaiiSportsRadio.com, and streaming live on our YouTube channel, Hawaii Sports Radio Network. I know Caesar was already active in our chat. It was a packed weekend, though, so I don't know how much we'll be able to get into some of our favorite Caesar tangents that we normally do, but nonetheless, we will, as we always do, get into some of that. Starting things out, though, I'm joined by my good buddy Michael Lasquero, who we actually haven't seen in the studio a whole ton lately, but he is donning his Pacers shirt here today, and for good reason, as Indiana goes up 3-1 in their series, a big-time win for you guys yesterday. Michael, how you doing this morning?
I am doing wonderful. Yes, the Indiana Pacers are up 3-1, so I'm in a very great mood. I have the pep in my step on the Monday of all things after a very busy week. Not weekend, because we be grinding. We're legit media that actually works, that does this for a living. But yeah, it's been busy. The Indiana Pacers up 3-1. I feel really great. They had a 41-point first half lead and held the other team to 39 points. So we were up by more points than they scored, which is kind of amazing. But this is the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, so that's enough. I'm going to talk about the Indiana Pacers for now. I know maybe in a few weeks or next week we might be talking more NBA, but for now we're gonna table that to the side. And I know Caesar in the chat says my teams are blue and yellow. That's because, well, primarily because I am a Paul Marauders graduate, so that is kind of our colors. But yeah.
Nonetheless, like you said, we'll chat some more NBA coming on up. You got 2 full hours of the fellas getting at it here on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network. It's Wake Up in the Den, no Ku'ule Agbayani today, but Paul Brecht and Michael Lasquero to recap everything that happened last week. Really, like Michael kind of was alluding to, it was a packed, and I mean packed, week, whether it was here locally with some high school sports, multiple HHSAA state tournaments going on and completing over the weekend, not just here on Oahu, but also over on Maui. And then, of course, the University of Hawaii doing Hawaii things, right? They're off into the national semifinals, and unfortunately, both the Rainbow Warriors men's volleyball team and the water polo Rainbow Wahine water polo teams both falling this weekend. Before that as well, Hawaii softball falling in the semifinals of the Big West tournament, ending the career of longtime head coach Bob Coolin. Big-time series win, though, for Hawaii baseball as they continue to fight for a Big West spot as we come down the stretch here. A ton, and I mean a ton, to get into. Let's start things out, though. I will recap a little bit of Wahine water polo. We'll talk about it more as the week goes on. They won in the quarterfinals over Cal 8-7. A really big victory for them. Kind of gets revenge from last year after falling in the semifinal round against that same Cal team. And it was a very important task for Hawaii this year, at least according to both the players and the coaching staff, that they proved last year wasn't a fluke, wasn't that they were, because it was an Olympic year, because the talent pool had been diluted just slightly because of the Olympics, right? The training for other programs. Stanford was without a player who ended up scoring 6 goals against the Rainbow Wahine in the semifinal this year. And it's one of those. So they wanted to go out and prove that last year wasn't a fluke, that last year was anything but, like I said, a fluke. And they do that, make it all the way back to the national semifinal, the first time in nearly 20 years that the program has advanced to the national semifinal in back-to-back seasons. And unfortunately for them, they do end up falling in the national semifinal round to eventual champions Stanford, 13-4. Stanford goes on to win the national championship on Sunday over USC, 11-7. But overall, a phenomenal year for the Rainbow Wahine in the pool, and a good job by them proving where they belong.
Yeah, I know Coach Robinson was talking about, wanting to prove last year wasn't a fluke. And, of course, too, I think with Coach Mo being her last year, I think that's when some of us local media and some of the UH fans started paying more attention because, hey, this is the last year for Coach Mo. Let's do well for her. Maybe it could be a fluke in that way, kind of like when the Lakers last won the championship, where let's win for Kobe, rest in peace. But the comment about that, I don't know if we're gonna hear his media avail today, but when they talked about it being an Olympic year, I mean, come on, guy. Like, we have one of our current players did play in the Olympics in Emma Vernou, and she did. I believe she scored the first ever goal for in her country's history, which is being France, where they were the host country in the Olympics last year. So that kind of cracked me up because, hello, we have, one of our best players this season was in the Olympics. But I think this year is, for the women's water polo team was like, hey, we are a legitimate program and you need to support us. And I think that's also locally as well as nationally, like, hey, they need more of our attention. They need more of our respect. And it's also kind of it's kind of almost a announcement maybe that, hey, and kind of like softball too, right? Where they were kind of tailing off, but this was, Coach Kuhn's last year and they kind of really had a resurgent season. It kind of shows, hey, we gotta support these sports. Yes, they're not revenue generating, but there's great talent, and if you're gonna go out to these games, these matches, you're not gonna be disappointed. So, I know they made us proud, and it's just our job as the fan base to go out and support them. I just wish there wasn't so many sports in spring, but yeah, I think next year, I know from my collective standpoint, I'll try to do a better job in giving coverage for these ladies.
Yeah, it truly, truly is incredible how much effort that they put in and year out and without much recognition. And that is why I wanted to take a little bit of time to talk about them in this show. And throughout this week, we'll continue it on as well. We got a chance to chat with Coach Robinson after the team returned yesterday, and I thought he had a lot of really good stuff to say. We'll hear from him later on this week. But moving on through these sports, you continue to talk about, the Rainbow Wahine. We'll go to the Diamond, talk about the softball field where Hawaii had a bit of a magical run in the first ever Big West softball tournament, something that head coach Bob Coolin has been pleading for, working for, begging for years, and now finally in his final year with the Rainbow Wahine, the conference does become the last in college softball to finally add a conference tournament. And Hawaii, with a couple of upsets to start things out, they take down Long Beach State on the first day, 10-8, explode for 10 runs for the first time in over a month. Funny enough, in the same place that they did beforehand. And then the next day, they go up against the number one seed and the hosts in Cal State Fullerton, and they put the smackdown on the Titans as well, 11-5 with a 9-run seventh inning to upset the top-seeded Titans and advance to the winner's bracket semifinals against CSUN, where they would eventually fall, and unfortunately in a close one, 4-3, and that seemed to be the beginning of the end, not just for the Rainbow Wahine for softball, but honestly for all of our Hawaii sports for the weekend. We'll talk more about that coming on up as well, but they drop down into the elimination bracket where they have to take on a UC Santa Barbara team that did the same exact thing that they did, taking down Cal State Fullerton on that same day, and they go up against each other the next day. Hawaii falls to eventual champion, by the way, UC Santa Barbara, who wins 4 elimination games in a matter of 3 days to come back, win 2 in the Big West Championship, take down CSUN, and earn the automatic qualifier bid into the NCAA tournament. So at the end of the day, Hawaii loses to the eventual champions. A great run for the Rainbow Wahine, who entered the tournament as the 5 seed, a 4-way tie for second place. And unfortunately, by virtue of tiebreakers, they go down to the 5th seed. But overall, a great finish to a fun year for the Rainbow Wahine. And there's some positive momentum for them to build off of, despite losing a longtime head coach in Bob Coolin, the ability to still move from this season and continue up the Big West ranks.
Yeah, and the postseason is where it matters, right? And credit to Coach Bob Coolin for wanting to get that in the Big West, so that, hey, sometimes it's a little bit more different, right? Players rise to the occasion, and we're kind of seeing that with the Indiana Pacers. I mean, I thought I was gonna be done talking about them. But we are beating the number one seed. But anyways, what I'm saying is that, what a great run for the Wahine softball team. Now next year, I think it does set things up for next year, where it's like, hey, it's our last year in the Big West. Let's go out and win the whole darn thing, right? I remember, I think, Paul, in one of your men's basketball, in all of our transfers coming in, they kind of mentioned that let's make this last year in the Big West a great year. So I kind of like where things are, where it's suiting up. I know some of our other sports, like water polo, and men's volleyball, which we're gonna have to talk about, Paul.
We will. Don't you worry.
We'll be in the Big West, but yeah, this set things up for a very great season next year, and who knows? I know. Again, I said I gotta do better. I think I only saw the softball team like early in the season during non-league play, non-conference play, and didn't get a chance to catch them out. But they're just making it known that we need to be paying more attention to them, and you got to promise from me that I will be doing that more next season.
I will also be doing a better job, but that's what we try and do here at HSRN overall, is give as much coverage as possible. Softball, like I said, losing in the semifinals to CSUN, and then once again in the elimination bracket to eventual champion UC Santa Barbara. Ends Coach Bob Coolin's career after 34 seasons as the head man for the Rainbow Wahine, 36 years with the program overall. Bella Martinez also completes her career with the Rainbow Wahine. She was selected to the all-tournament team, though. She batted .500, a team high, had 7 hits, 2 doubles, and a home run, 4 ribbies. She started the final 152 games straight of her career, an Iron Woman, and we saw a little bit of a brief scare, a collision over at first base. Didn't seem to matter. Really, really tough lady. 5 seniors graduate. They got to find a new coach. A lot to talk about in the offseason, and we'll talk about that as the offseason continues on. As this show goes on, we got to step aside for our first break of the day, but when we return, we'll talk some men's volleyball as the Rainbow Warriors saw their season also come to an end at the hands of UCLA in the national semifinals. We'll talk about how they played. We'll hear a little bit from Kurt Nusterer after the Rainbow Warriors returned home yesterday, and a whole lot more coming on up here on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network. You're listening to Wake Up in the Den on 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Stuck in traffic? That sucks. Here's why on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network. Aloha and good
You're listening to Wake Up in the Den with Paul Brecht and Michael Lasquero on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, AM 760 and 95.1 FM, and streaming on hawaiisportsradio.com.
Don't forget about on YouTube as well. Mahalo to all of you tuning in on our YouTube channel. Be sure to drop a like, and if you haven't yet, subscribe for all things Hawaii sports, whether that is high school sports or all things University of Hawaii. As we continue our UH conversation, we chat a little bit about the ladies in the first segment today. We got to move into the men's volleyball team next, though, unfortunately, who returned to the Final Four, the national Final Four this year after completely missing the tournament last year. Did a nice job winning on day number 1 in 4 sets against Penn State. And this is a Hawaii team that continued to be a bit shorthanded. No Christian Tetrisky all throughout their postseason run. The second team All-American injured himself against CSUN and unfortunately was unable to get back to the level at which we are so used to seeing Tetrisky play. And unfortunately, because of that, he doesn't get an opportunity to play in what was a magical run for the Rainbow Warriors. In his stead, Finn Kearney stepping up in a big-time way through those final few weeks. And unfortunately for Kearney, just not exactly his best performance in this game. And honestly, I shouldn't just single out Finn because it was the Rainbow Warriors in general. And as I say that, I'll bring up the stats as Hawaii falls in the national semifinal to UCLA. The Bruins 22-6 overall this year, 10-2 in the MPSF. The champions of the regular season, they ended up falling to Pepperdine, who fell in 4 sets to number 1 seed Long Beach State on the other side of the bracket in the semifinals, as UCLA and Long Beach State will take on each other in the national final for the second consecutive year. Bruins looking for a three-peat. Looking at these statistics, though, you can kind of see, Michael, where Hawaii just wasn't quite up to par in every single category, not hitting at their highest standard, blocking not totally there. Too many errors, which we've seen at times with this young team. And, just at the end of the day, it felt like we saw the difference between a team that is ready for the national title and a team that is still adjusting at the smallest of screws, where this can be an experience that is so massive for them going forward. A ton of returners on this team, or expected returners on this team. Obviously, Kurt Nusterer, one of the ones who will leave us, along with Aleu Choi, a couple of All-American honorable mentions. But Michael, just some of your thoughts from the season ending and this match, and maybe some overall thoughts for Hawaii men's volleyball after what has been a magical ride, 27 wins and 6 losses.
Yeah, it was a tough loss. I know that first set they were just kind of completely shellacked, and the last 2 sets though, again, not all sweeps are bad. There are bad sweeps and there's competitive sweeps, right? And
agreed.
The last 2 sets, they were in the end game all throughout. It's 25-23, I think 25-23 as well. But just the passing wasn't there that night, that day. And of course, again, not having Louis, I think he tried to give it a go, but when he was walking out of the hotel room and to the fans greeting Louis, he was in a walking boot. He was in a boot, right? So yeah, definitely surprised that he even stepped on the court. But not Louis, not at 100% means you're not going to be able to get his phenomenal serves, which was what helped him crack the rotation early on before he kind of passed Clay Weeder, is because Charlie saw, he made a comment where he was doing 80 on the gun and yeah, if you're gonna do that, we're gonna in pregame we're gonna throw you out there and
find your way on the floor.
Yeah, and that's how they defeated Long Beach in the final of the Big West, is because Louis just went supernova in that final set. I think he got 3 aces in that set, if not
something
more,
like that,
or in that run. Yeah, he had a phenomenal service run. So not having him and not having Christian, that's kind of the kicker. We kind of saw some form of this lineup without the two of them when they played CSUN, I believe. When Christian was hurt and Louis didn't make the trip, because the trip before the the last road trip, basically when he had that reported leg injury, right? So we kind of saw a version of this that it was serviceable. And for Finn, we kind of saw this. Again, he's a freshman, and we kind of saw this with Adrian earlier in the year, where Charlie made a comment about the workload, right? And students,
Good point by you.
then Finn was phenomenal in without Christian in the lineup, but at some point, the workload's gonna kind of catch up to you. And we saw with Adrian where we just need to kind of take a breather. But yeah, I do think it's important for this team to be able to generate that energy that they get from the fans at home. I think definitely this year with us getting into winning the Big West tournament and getting to the NCAA tournament, we did benefit from playing our two toughest opponents at home.
Yes, that's fair.
In Irvine, we beat Irvine 3 times at home, and we beat Long Beach 2 times at home. And I know there's different metrics out there to measure how good our team is, whether it be the polls, the ABC polls, or RPI. But RPI is flawed because it doesn't take into account where the match was held, as well as how competitive the match was in terms of set points. So I think that's one thing our team needs to just get better at, is just focusing or knowing that it's just the 6 on the court that is there playing, and that's going to be a learning experience for them. But again, the fans showed out with great spirit. But this team, at the end of the day, it's 6 on 6. Whoever's on the court, nobody else can do it for you. And but nothing to hang their heads on. Again, we can't really hang our heads because we weren't at full strength. So we can play the what if game, but again, we have the pieces, and I'll take that any day of the week.
I couldn't agree more with you, where this is a team that very clearly has the talent. And I think I put a tweet out, actually. If you follow me on social media, on X, it's at 12 Brecht. On everything else, it's at Pauly_B. Yeah, at Pauly_B12. But I put something out there where you could tell me that any of the Final Four teams in the men's volleyball ranks won the national championship this year, and I would believe you, because you had both the best teams from the Big West and MPSF and the second best teams from the Big West and the MPSF. And on any given day, it feels like you could have any result between them. And even so, not being at home, Hawaii fans did a phenomenal job traveling this weekend. I thought 4,500 miles away to show out. We asked Kurt Nusterer, and we'll hear from him in just a moment, about what the fan split was for Hawaii versus UCLA, Penn State, whatever, out there in Ohio. And even Kurt said probably 70-30 in favor of Hawaii. It truly, truly is incredible, the travel and the fans who will go out and support for this men's volleyball team. And not just them, but all of the UH athletic programs. It's very, very cool to see. But as I was alluding to, got a chance to chat with Kurt Nusterer yesterday after the Rainbow Warriors returned home from the continent. And, a little bit of a sad-ish vibe, of course, after the career of Nusterer comes to an end. But overall, a lot of really good stuff to say. And I had a chance to ask him a little bit about the fan support, about the travel. All that starts out with him answering a question from Spectrum News' Brian McGinnis about just the travel, how it felt, how the body was, and let's hear what Kurt had to say.
Kurt, what was it like to have left the tournament like that and gotten on a plane, I believe, pretty early the following morning and make the long ride home?
I mean, it was incredibly frustrating. I think all of us wanted more out of the week. Every single one of us didn't play up to our potential. We all had a pretty bad game. There is something to say for what we've accomplished this year. I think we're all really proud of what we've accomplished this year. But it definitely wasn't the way we wanted to lose. There's still a lot of things to be really proud of, and we are really proud of those things. But I definitely think some of us wish we could have played at least one more game.
Could you sense anything, even going to the Penn State game or in or after the Penn State game, like we're not quite hitting on all cylinders at the moment, or?
Yeah, but I mean, we've seen that before where one night we'll play horribly and the next night we'll play phenomenally. And even in games, some sets we'll play really bad, some sets we'll play really good. It's just kind of the dynamic of how the sport works. And I think, being on a larger stage for all of us, for it being a first time, that may have had something to do with it. Injuries may have had something to do with it. But at the end of the day, we didn't play our best volleyball at the right time. I think, the reason we made it to the tournament is because I think if I look back on this year, we played our best volleyball during the Big West Conference tournament. So, the chance that we even got to play is remarkable. And I think we just wish we could have sustained that level of play for another game.
How do you feel this kind of leaves? I mean, I know your time with the program has come to a close, but how do you feel this leaves the program going into next year and into the future?
Yeah, I think the program's in a great spot. So many returns coming back, and there's a very talented team. There's a lot of guys who can step up into really great leadership positions, and they should do very well at that. And I'm very excited to watch them compete next year. I'll be in Los Angeles, so I'll be able to go watch them and see them thrive. And I really just hope they continue to mature and develop into good young men and take advantage of all the opportunities there are that come with being a part of this program. They don't take anything for granted. The fans, the community, their responsibility and all of that. I think it's really important. I hope they take advantage of it.
Talk a little bit about the experience maybe off the court in Columbus. It looked like a pretty good crew of supporters came out to cheer you guys on, even from leaving the hotel, what that meant to you all the way about 4,500 miles away.
Yeah, that was remarkable. I mean, it's incredible. I still will never be able to wrap my head around the fact that people love us that much to make sacrifices like that to support us. And it's the reason this program is successful, and it's the reason we're going to continue to be successful. There's other great volleyball teams. This year there's arguably better volleyball teams. There's other great schools out there. There's other great coaching staffs out there. There's no place in the world that has the kind of support that we do, and that's why I'm here. That's why a lot of other people are here. And it's the reason this place is so special.
Kurt, you celebrated on the championship level stage. You celebrated, you won Big West tournaments over here. You enjoyed the fans. Now that this chapter has closed, what are you going to look back on? Now that this chapter, and move on to the next time you're doing it.
I'll look back at those relationships. There's no doubt about that. I mean, I've said it before, the value in my life comes from the people in my life. No amount of wins or stats or recognition or anything like that means nearly as much to me as the people that I surround myself with. I've gotten to know some really, really amazing, incredible people out here. I think those people have turned me into a much better person. Came out here as a freshman, 18 years old. I'd say that's a kid. I'm leaving here slightly older, a young adult, and I think Hawaii's made me a much better person, and I'm truly grateful for that.
And that was Kurt Nusterer, the redshirt junior middle blocker who completed his Hawaii career this past weekend as Hawaii falls in the national semifinals to UCLA in straight sets, 25-14, 25-23, 25-23. Adrian Rohr leads the way for Hawaii with 12 kills. The lone Rainbow Warrior in double figures for put-downs also had a pair of aces. Finn Kearney, 6 kills on more than 20 attempts. Tread Rosenthal, 4 kills. And then Kainoa Wade getting a little bit of action as Hawaii tried to piece it together as best they could. Like Michael mentioned, a very undermanned, very is a stretch, but an undermanned Hawaii team without the services already of Christian Tatriski, an injured Louis Sakanoko, and who knows what other various things probably were going on as well.
Yeah, and I don't want to take anything away from UCLA.
No, they were phenomenal. They outplayed us 100%.
Yeah, and because I'll be honest, I'll be the first to tell you, I wasn't too impressed with UCLA during the season. I thought USC on paper and what from the eye test was better than UCLA, but UCLA, I think Pepperdine upset them in the MPSF. Paul, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they were coming off a loss, and they definitely had a couple weeks to kind of look themselves in the mirror and realize, hey, we are still the defending national champions, right?
Back to back.
Yeah.
One might even say.
Let's put this, forget about the MPSF, because what is even the MPSF? Let's go win a natty, and they're in prime position. And I think today's match is it's arguably probably the top two teams from a pure volleyball standpoint, probably the top two teams in the country in terms of consistency and just on paper as well. And I know it sucks that Hawaii's not in there, but I do want to point out that there is Hawaii guys on both teams, or local players on both teams. In the national championship, you got Darius McCraven from Mauna Lua and Long Beach. So if you want to cheer for Mauna Lua, and McCraven, he wasn't even a volleyball guy growing up.
Yeah, it started pretty late, right?
He was more of a basketball guy, but I think I know Rick Toon from Punahou was kind of saying, yeah, that guy, if he puts his mind to it, he'll get somewhere. And now he's playing for the national championship.
He got somewhere.
And UCLA has Kahale Klini from Punahou, and I think another back row player, another Punahou back row player. So whoever wins, there's going to be a Hawaii local boy. So if even though Hawaii's not in it, I guess you can cheer for the fact that Hawaii local boy is going to win it. But yeah, take nothing away. I do think there is some criticism of the NCAA format, but I think that's a topic for another day.
I was going to say, that's something we can get into during the summer for sure, because I don't think that you're wrong. I think there is certainly a conversation to be had there. A few more stats from this game before we step to break. Sean Kelly, the freshman outside hitter for UCLA, looking nothing like a freshman for the Bruins in this one, had a match-high 13 kills, hitting .435 in that match. And unfortunately for Hawaii, it punctuates the career of 5 different Rainbow Warriors seniors, few of whom have gotten to a couple of different national championship tournaments. One more time, obviously, mahalo to Aleu Choi, Kawai Hong, Kurt Nusterer, Zachary Thompson, and Clay Weeder for all of their efforts this season and previously for the Rainbow Warriors in their career. A really nice job returning Hawaii back to the level at which the expectations really are for the program now a lot of times, and doing it almost a year early. So shout out to them. Shout out to the men's volleyball squad making it into the national final for the national championship later today between Long Beach State and UCLA. That one at 1 p.m. Hawaii time, 4 p.m. Pacific. And should be a lot of fun. In case you missed it, maybe you're curious, you just joined us, why our Ku'ule Agbayani not leading the show on this Aloha Monday, why it's just the boys, Michael Lasquero and Paul Brecht here on site, who made her way out to Columbus for the national tournament, boots on the ground to give you as good coverage as she can.
I just got one little sticking point. It's kind of a throwaway to break, but why do our teams lose when they go on the continent? Maybe I gotta go next time. If they win when I'm on the continent, then I gotta be the freaking flower in the badge.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. We gotta find the sponsor to make sure that you can go out for every single one. Either way, we got to step to break way up against the clock. When we return, we'll switch to the high school ranks, talk some HHSAA tournament action as softball, couple of repeat champions, and baseball, first time in Division I since 2019. No representative from the MIL, of course, here it's on Maui. All that and more coming up on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network. You're listening to Wake Up on the Den on 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Back to more Wake Up in the Den with Paul Brecht and Michael Lasquero on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to Wake Up in the Den. Paul Brecht, Michael Lasquero, bringing you all the action on this Aloha Monday. Thank you so much for joining us, whether it is on the radio dial 95.1 FM, AM 760, and on our website streaming hawaiisportsradio.com, or if you are joining us live in studio like we are every single Monday on our YouTube channel, Hawaii Sports Radio Network, drop a subscribe, a like, a comment, anything that you do. Shout out to some of our favorites and some very, very normal chatters in Felipe Hernandez and Caesar, getting in on the conversation, having a conversation of their own in our live chat. Get in on the conversation as well. You can shoot us a text at 808-888-KGU1. That's 808-888-5481 as we're talking all things Hawaii sports after a packed weekend, both at the college and high school levels. I talked about it a little bit before we went to break. We're moving on over to the high school scene and more specifically to the Diamond. We'll start things out with softball and more specifically at the Division II rank where Kapa'a finishes a undefeated season, 15-0. Go the Warriors as they take down Pearl City, another unbeaten team, the number 2 seed in this tournament, 7-5. They come back after falling down 3-0, put up 4 runs in the third inning, and then see the game tied back up in the fourth. After that, though, they shut it on down, go up 7-4, and a little bit of a scare late. Pearl City brings the tying run to the plate and ends up not really mattering as Kapa'a finishes things off 7-5, your victor, as they go back-to-back in the state. And Sienna Yamashita, the shortstop, goes 2 for 4, scored 2 runs, had a walk, a triple, and really, really stood out amongst the crowd, helping the Warriors lead the way as they win another state title. Our Michael Lasquero got a chance, along with other local media, to catch up with Yamashita after the game, and this is what the Kapa'a shortstop had to say after her team got back to the mountaintop.
Congratulations on this.
Thank you.
You guys won it last year. What makes this repeat special?
It's a whole different team. We lost a good bunch of seniors, and we have 9 freshmen. We have a couple underclass or sophomores, and just being able to get together and win another one is just everything to us.
Pearl City, you guys were coming off a game where you guys gave up no hit. Your party gave no hit, but this game, Pearl City was up on you girls. How did you guys come back?
We know in any 7-inning game we're in there to win it. It's not how we start, it's definitely how we end. And Carly did a great job at staying on top of it and believing in herself and just doing her. And I believed in her the whole way.
I think obviously you guys have a lot of youth, right? And I know like a lot of the main girls are coming back. I mean, talk about obviously it's a little early, but what are you guys looking forward to do next year? I mean, one more time?
I mean, we are looking for a 3-peat. We have some talk about moving up D1, but it's all up to our coaches, our principals, and we just gotta play ball. Everything's the same field, same ball. Everything's the same, but.
You mentioned your principal, Tommy John Cox. I've heard you guys were he put some money into you guys' training facilities.
Yeah.
How much did it help your team this year?
He loves sports. He loves giving back to his kids. He's a great principal. He's a great person overall, and we love him. And just him giving back in any way he can means a lot to us. It shows us the support he gives us and everything.
You mentioned a new team. I know last year your other middle infielder, Rhea, a big help for you. But your other infielder this year, Charlize, this game maybe not her best game, but the whole tournament she was just hitting bombs.
Yeah.
Talk about that relationship.
I mean, she is going to CBU for a reason. Like she's my day one. She hits bombs for a living, so I mean that's what she does.
And what about your catcher at the inning?
That's my catcher since baby days, since diamond days, you know. We bond really well. Her throwdowns to my catches, and she just did her thing. Everyone did their thing and stayed within themselves, and that's how we got here.
That last play, I mean, Coach City had it in fair territory, but you guys ended it with a play in the infield. What was your emotions after that, the whole scenario?
You know, definitely threw it in the dirt, but I trusted in my second baseman. She caught it, and it shows us to never give up on the ball and always look for the next play.
And last one for me, you know, you guys were the first to make the title game, but, you know, volleyball made it today, and, you know, they walked off, you know, against Kapa'a to make it 3 Kapa'a teams in the final. You know, how excited are you for, not only for you guys to win one, but to see potentially, you know, 3 state titles coming in the spring for Kapa'a?
Let's just start by saying it's a great day to be a Warrior. I mean, the boys worked hard, the baseball boys, you know, Coach Duke did a great job with that team also. The volleyball boys keep grinding. I can see it coming, and it's just going to be a great day to be a Warrior.
Congratulations on this.
It's just going to be a great day to be a Warrior. It absolutely was for Kapa'a as they take down Pearl City in the Division II title game, 7-5, like you heard. A fun one all the way down the stretch, a comeback win for Kapa'a to start, and then they had to hold off a furious rally from the Chargers late as they go back-to-back in the state. And then speaking of back-to-back, also Mililani goes back-to-back. The defending Division I state champions hit 4 home runs in the Division I state championship game this year to take down Maryknoll 10-7. That one also a little bit sweaty early on for Mililani. They go down 1-0 in the first inning before they explode for 9 runs between the second and third innings, and that was a really big one for the Trojans. Ended up being all they really needed to add a 10th insurance run in the 6th inning, and Maryknoll not down without a fight. They put up 3 runs in the 7th inning and try and come back. Just ends up falling short as Mililani takes down the Spartans 10-7 behind the 8 hits of the lineup. This was a Trojans group that was just really outstanding all year, Michael, where whether it was the pitching that came through or the hitting that we have seen consistently, and we'll hear coming on up from Mililani softball head coach Rose Antonio, but you know, this has just continued to be a group who, whenever they need something, whether it is pitching, whether it is defense, whether it is hitting, whatever it may be that day, it seems that this group has been able to come up with it time and time again. It's why you see them becoming back-to-back state champions.
Yeah, and it starts with the head coach and Coach Rose Antonio for building a very deep team. I know the pitcher, Hinano Bautista, she was the pitcher of the year last year as a freshman, but this year not that strong of a year. She gets the win, but they do need to bring in fellow sophomore Taylor Adriano in the semifinals. They needed her to pitch 5 innings of relief to get the win against Kamehameha, and then she needs to come in and pitch 1 out to get the save against Maryknoll. So again, that's a testament to Coach Rose Antonio. This was kind of a newer, fresher squad. There was a lot of great Mililani players on last year's seniors class that are playing collegiate softball now. I think one is an outfielder on the Rainbow Wahine depth chart. We know the shortstop Taryn Hirano and the DP Michaela Pangampao is on HPU, which we're going to be talking some HPU, I think, in the next segment or the next hour. And they needed to I don't want to say rebuild, but they reloaded with some young players, and everybody contributed, and that's kind of what you want to see in a state tournament squad. It's not just one person, you're just running one person, because that can only take you so far. And a very standout squad, and I just love that it wasn't a blowout. Like there was some drama to it. Like
it was competitive all the way to the end.
Yeah, both D2 and D1. It was a title match for sure.
Yeah, and that's what you love to see after this weekend, where you have the culmination of so much hard work for so many different programs. The last thing you want it to be is a blowout, so that you don't feel the same positive vibes. I think every single team can hold their head high after this weekend, knowing how competitive all of these games were. And like I said before, Mililani comes up with the title behind 4 home runs. The Trojans end up putting, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players on the all-tournament team. Just a really, like you said, Michael, deep squad, and that's what you need at the Division I level. Was going to go to Coach Rose Antonio because our Michael Lasquero got a chance to chat with her. We'll do that actually, though, when we come back from break, as we're way up against the clock once again. I'm a little out of practice, guys. Sorry about that. But when we come back, we'll hear from Mililani softball head coach Rose Antonio to close out our number 1 here on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network. Don't want to go too far. You're listening to Wake Up in the Den on 95.1 FM, AM 760, and HawaiiSportsRadio.com.
Stuck in traffic? That sucks. Here's why on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
Aloha and good morning, Honolulu. Live in the traffic center, I'm Taizo Braden. We're definitely seeing traffic conditions open up now at the H1 townbound through Kaimuki, just slow about halfway and then in towards UH Manoa. With the UH commencement ceremony past weekend, hopefully we'll start to see lighter volume throughout the week, but still slow through UH Manoa in towards Punch Bowl. A little slow at the bottom of the Pali and the Like. It has had slick road conditions all morning from the windward side. Castle Junction's looking good though, so that wasn't too bad. Right now we're looking just like a typical slowdown still through Kunio Waikele, but they're quickly opening up. Now an earlier accident we had H1 townbound through Waikele has been cleared. So just slow a little bit on Waterloo Freeway up from the top of Red Hill and then into Middle Street Merge, but Middle Street Merge is already starting to clear for drivers coming into town from the west side, a positive sign of lighter volume this morning. So looking good there, no slowdowns in the H1 viaduct in the airport in both directions.
Dial Electric Supply is Hawaii's premier lighting distributor and supplier, serving commercial and retail customers alike. Located at 2240 Kalua Opalena Street, Dial Electric's expanded retail showroom features one of the largest selections of lighting fixtures, fans, and smart home lighting solutions. Schedule an appointment with one of their design experts to create a home lighting design that you will enjoy for many years to come. Visit dialelectricsupply.com or give them a call at 808-845-7811.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Wake Up in the Den with Paul Brecht and Michael Lasquero on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, AM 760 and 95.1 FM, and streaming on HawaiiSportsRadio.com.
Back here on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM, AM 760, and HawaiiSportsRadio.com. Remember, you can get in on the conversation either by heading over to our YouTube channel, Hawaii Sports Radio Network, getting in on the live chat as we stream this and every Monday on our YouTube channel live, so you can see what's going on here inside the studio. Or you can shoot us a text at 808-888-KGU1. That's 808-888-5481. And lead our conversation a little bit today, talking a lot of local sports. First hour especially started out with some UH discussion, then moved on over to the Diamond, talking some HHSAA softball state championship action. Had Kapa'a go back-to-back at Division II, taking down Pearl City 7-5, and then Mililani claiming back-to-back crowns as well, fighting off Mary Knowles' late comeback try, 10-7. And before we went to break, I said we would hear from head coach Rose Antonio, the head woman over at Mililani. Our Michael Lasquero and local media got a chance to catch up with the longtime head coach and the successful head coach after the Trojans' victory. And this is what she had to say as her group wins another one. They go back-to-back at Division I.
Okay, Coach, congratulations.
Thank you.
You know, every team is different. What makes this year's squad special?
Oh, this squad, is very special. Last year we had a lot of power, This year we had a lot of good weapons, from power to speed to just... But they were young, but hey, they came, work together, they get along well, and this team is really special.
one thing I liked about this year's team is that, you're not, even last year's team too, where you're not riding one girl, right?
Oh, yeah.
Everybody contributed. I mean,
Yes.
3 home runs, 8 for 5 last night, and even in the circle, it really was the best team that won.
Yes. So, we told the girls that we need all of you. We didn't get here in this position by just 1, 2, or 3 players. We needed everyone.
And I think some of those players that got involved were underclassmen, sophomores. Maybe.
Oh yes, very youthful team. Junior here at third, sophomore at short, junior at second, sophomore at first base, and you get pitcher, sophomores, catcher's a senior, and then left field you got junior, senior in center, and then sophomore, and our DH was a junior, so we're pretty young.
Last question. It's a little half serious, little half in jest, right? But I think the past 2 years, you are undefeated in this softball stadium.
I am.
Well, I mean, you won the title this year and last year, right?
Yeah.
There is an opening at UH for the softball head coach. Is there a chance you might,
No chance.
You're dedicated to Mililani?
Oh, of course, yes. I'm an alumni. I bleed brown and gold, But I put my recommendation out there for Coach D. Wisniewski to get it. Yeah.
Thanks, Coach.
So Coach D, huh? That's the word going around. It seems like that people want, and I think she would do a great job. That's a conversation for another day as well. Good on you trying to get a little bit of extra scoop on in there, but like she said, she bleeds Mililani Trojan colors. So
it was a 2-for-1. Not only did she give us the banger, she bleeds Mililani and does not put her name in the hat, throw her name in the hat, but she also gives an endorsement. So
True.
That's it's almost like we're covering the election.
Exactly. She didn't want to put her name into the hat, but she knows a person who would do an excellent job. It goes into what our conversation was earlier in the first hour, and in case you missed that, you can catch this and every single one of our shows on demand wherever you get most podcasts, whether that's Spotify, Apple Music, or today on Mondays. You can always catch us live on our YouTube channel. Hour number 2 coming on up. Make sure you join us for that one as well. If you're listening on your radio, but now done driving, pop onto YouTube. Come hang out with us. So much more local sports to talk about, whether it's high school baseball, the Wally Yonamine Foundation state championships, Division I and Division II to go over, or some HPU baseball after the Sharks fall in the Pac-West Championship game. All of that and more coming on up here on Wake Up in the Den. You won't want to miss it, but we got to step aside for the top of the hour break. We'll be back for hour number 2 on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
The Honolulu
welcome back to hour number 2. Wake up in the den. No Ku'ule Agbayani. Paul Brecht, Michael Lasquero bringing you all the weekend action after a loaded weekend in Hawaii sports. Hour number 1 talked a ton about some Hawaii volleyball, Hawaii softball, talked some high school softball. Continuing our high school conversation into the second hour, we'll chat a little bit about the Wally Yonamine Foundation baseball, HHSAA Division I and Division II state championship games. We'll also chat some about HPU baseball, and maybe we'll get into some NBA by the time the day gets out. Once again, give Michael a little more time to chat about his Pacers, who take a 3-1 lead. Maybe me an opportunity to worry a little bit more about my New York Knicks, the opportunity ahead of them today. Unfortunately, though, without much confidence, am I. Nonetheless, we'll talk more NBA later on. I want to continue our high school conversation, though, as high school baseball, Michael, was pretty fun, it seemed like, throughout this past weekend. You had 2 champions who have had their name atop the list before, but it had been a little bit for one side, and for the other one, it's the third in 4 years. We'll start with Division II, where the Monarchs of Damien take down Kapa'a 3-1. All the scoring done in the first inning of this one, and it's the Monarchs who ultimately return to the top spot on the podium, their 3rd state championship in the past 4 years at the Division II level. You have Aaron Raposa, who did an excellent job, not just in the field, but also on the mound, pitching the final inning and picking up the save for Damien as he struck out 2 Warriors batters. He ended up being the most outstanding player for the tournament, as Damien wins their 3rd state championship in the last 4 years. And before we talk about the game, our Michael Lasquero and local media got a chance to catch up with Raposo following the contest after Damien reclaims their spot atop Division II, and this is what the shortstop had to say.
Aaron, you've been on this team, for a long time now. What does it mean to win the 3rd one in 4 years?
It's just a blessing to be out here. I mean, these guys, we had concerns in the beginning of the year of who was going to play what, but, we all just grinded out and we just played hard. So we always just found a groove. We always found a way to win.
You guys had a chance at a 3-peat last year, fell short. How much did that motivate you guys this season?
Oh, man. It was hard to just experience that kind of feeling, but, I mean, to win it now, I think we had to go through that.
You closed it out on the mound. What were your emotions after the final out?
I just had confidence, man. I've been through this my whole career, actually, just shutting out all the big entire games. So I just went in there with confidence and fearlessness, and I just celebrated with my team after.
Last time you guys won the title, you guys, it's kind of similar situation, right? You guys play Molokai. The pitcher throws like 13 straight balls. You guys get 3 on, you guys score 3. Next day, in this stadium, you guys play Waipahu. Their pitcher throws 3 walks, so you guys score 3. Today's similar result. I mean, once it's coincidence, but today, it shows that you guys are prepared and you guys are disciplined at the plate. Kind of talk about that.
Throughout my career, we always just took it one day at a time, and we never really focused on the championship game. But I'm just so proud of these guys for just working hard every single day. Our first game, we never really hit that good until the end. Second game, we came out firing. Today, we only had 1 hit through 4 innings, but we just decided we just pulled it 2. That was it.
Talk about the defense. I mean, you anchored that on the shortstop, but I think your defense made great plays to back not only you, but starter Laruto and with Tana. How big has that defense been for you guys?
In the beginning, it was a little bit concerning with the error that happened, but our outfield has been tremendous this season. Our infield has been a little shaky, but man, when it comes to playoffs, we just turn it on, and we're just an errorless team.
Talk about your 2 pitchers that helped preserve this win for you before you took the mound.
Cade was awesome, man. He's been our number 1 starter for the ILH season, and he just does his job out there. And Tana, hell of a job he did, winning Impact Player of the Year as a freshman. He just did his job, went out there, threw strikes, and his defense made the plays. Congrats, man. Thank you.
Thank you, man.
And that was Damien shortstop and right-handed pitcher Aaron Raposa following the Monarchs' 3-1 victory over Kapa'a in the 2025 Wally Yonamine Foundation HHSAA Division II State Championship game. And this one was a fun one, Michael, where Damien, fun one, also a wonky one, I'll say. Damien puts up 3 runs in the top half of the first inning. They do it without a hit. They only muster up 2 hits the entire time. It's all they needed, though, as they won. It was a wonky first inning. You had 3 runs scored as you walked the leadoff batter, a throwing error, had another run in, 2 hit by pitches, loaded the bases, a balk in there, a wild pitch, a little bit more craziness to put the 3 runs on the board for Damien before finally Kapa'a gets out of that inning. And then after that, the Kapa'a pitching staff does a phenomenal job throughout the entire game to shut down the Monarchs, but unfortunately for them, the Warriors, without much of an offense themselves, as Damien's pitching staff does a great job. 3 different guys combine to shut down Kapa'a, win the state championship for Damien. It's the 6th title game appearance for Damien since 2017. It's their 4th state championship, 3 of those coming in the past 4 years. It has been truly, truly an incredible time for them. Aaron Rapazzo mentioned it before, the most outstanding player of the HHSAA Division II baseball tournament. Michael, you were there. Kind of talk to me about what you saw from this Damien team, the vibe you got from them as they etched their name into the history books once again. And like you said, Rapazzo, just a really, really nice job putting himself into history once again.
Yeah, Raposa, he's one of those kind of 4-year guys on this squad. You know, being to be able to be a part of 3 state championship teams, 4 title game appearances.
It's insane.
But this is what Damien does. They're a scrappy team. They love to hit. And we kind of see under Coach Skylar Tengan, kind of a younger coach too, kind of in the similar vein as Dane Fujinaka, which we're gonna hear from later on from HPU. But they battle, they scrap, and if the other team is gonna make a mistake, they're not gonna stop them from making a mistake. I've seen them 2 years ago actually in their first 2 games of the state tournament when they last won. But they played Molokai in the first round, and the Molokai starting pitcher threw 13 straight balls to start the game.
Whew.
And to me, you know, that's not good on Molokai's part, but that's also a testament to Damien's patience, because at some point you're thinking you're going to be swinging. Like, he can't be throwing that many balls in a row. But yeah, Damien in that game got after 3 straight walks and 13 balls, you get 3-man on, you end up with 3 runs scored in that inning. And you think, yeah, that's just what happens. But Paul, we've seen firsthand. Our opening game of the OI broadcast, they had the bases loaded with no outs, but they only scored 1 run. So it is something there. And the next day, not that 2 years ago, they play Waipawa and they get 3 walks to start and they go up 3-0. So Damien's been there. They've been in this situation. I don't want to take that away from them. It's like, oh, they just won because of the situation and the other team tripping over themselves. But no, they're a solid squad, solid coaching staff. I know in the past years, because they're the only ILH representative in Division II, they would get into the tournament solely because they're the only team in D2 because Pac-5 went up. So they play a regular season that includes the Division I teams. So that ended that
battle tested, one would say.
Yeah, but in the past, that ended them up with a losing record, a state champion with a losing record because they played D1 teams. But this season, they were very competitive in Division I. They probably would have pushed Iolani for that 4th spot in D1, in the D1 state tournament. And they do have a 6-5 win over eventual Division I state champion Saint Louis on their ledger. That coming on in March. So they do compete. But again, in the postseason, it comes down to pitching, and they had pitching. Cade Lorito was did well, gave up an unearned run to Kapa'a in the bottom of the first, but pitched 3 innings, and they turned to their freshman, Tanaloa Seguncia. really solid not to allow a run. And then Aaron Laposa, he's been in the closer situation in past state tournament runs, and he's kind of grown from. I think when they last won the state tournament, he was just a defensive only player. He wasn't really hitting. This year, as a senior, he was the leadoff hitter. So kudos to him. But yeah, Damien, they are a good squad. Maybe they'll. Again, no hits, and that first hit they got shouldn't have even been a hit. It's because it was a bunt single to the third baseman, but all through warm up, we could tell that the third baseman could not make that throw to first, and that's how they were able to leg it out. So really, I mean, they almost went with only one hit, but that would have been a story if they won this game with no hits. That would have been insane.
Could you have imagined?
Yeah, but Damien, they do their thing in the state tournament, and they just figured out a way to get it done.
They certainly did. You also mentioned the other state champion that we're going to talk about as St. Louis takes down Waiakea over on Maui, winning the Crusaders' first state crown, I should say, on the diamond since 2014. A magical run for St. Louis that continues what I've jokingly called at times the year of the Crusader, as we saw their football team with a magnificent run to the state championship, taking down a really strong Kahuku squad, and obviously having to fight all the way there. Same deal for this squad. Honestly, might be more impressive. Got the last spot out of the ILH and had to fight all the way through the bracket. They do exactly that behind some outstanding pitching throughout the entire tournament, and it's perfectly encapsulated by Lincoln Pang's performance on Saturday, where he completely shuts down Waiakea, goes the full 7 innings throwing a shutout, and had a pair of strikeouts. A phenomenal performance on the mound, exactly what they needed, and of course, led by Bruin Agbayani, the star shortstop for the Crusaders. St. Louis got exactly what they needed. They put up 5 runs, 2 in the first, 1 in the fifth, 2 more in the sixth for some insurance, and that's all they needed, as overall just a 3-hitter by Pang. State champions once again, St. Louis, and a really cool story as Bruin Agbayani gets a chance to win a state championship with his dad, Benny. Benny, obviously, also a state championship with Iolani and his daughters back in 2019. This one, a cool story, which, for a public school guy, you won't always hear me saying about these ILH champions, but nonetheless, a really impressive run by the Crusaders all the way through this one to take home another state championship.
Yeah, you gotta, the credit to the pitching for St. Louis, because I mean, you brought up Lincoln Pang. Like he's only had 5 pitching appearances this whole season, and this was a season high in innings pitch where he was able to go the distance. But yeah, St. Louis, I think the thing that kind of got me was when they were able to hit Kai Hirayama out from Mililani, who, remember, he had a perfect game or a no-hitter in the semis of the OIA, where I think Kailua coach Corey Ishigo just had to tip his cap. And Corey is not the Corey. If anybody that knows local baseball, Corey Ishigo is not that guy to be, but he knows the game. And he had tipped his hat to him. So the fact that St. Louis came out hot against Kai Hirayama, that was like, oh, this might be the year. And their pitching was just on a level. And that's sometimes how the state tournament goes, is who is the hottest team at this moment. And, Waiakea, last time they were in Maui, they did beat St. Louis in the semifinals and won the state tournament. But they just didn't have that the weaponry and the power that they've had in the past. I mean, I was looking at that last Waiakea team to win the state tournament, and they had guys like Kedron Kinsey, who's now in UH. They had Igawa at catcher, who played at HPU for a bit. They had Dylan Honda, who was committed to HPU for a bit. They just had a lot of players on that team that are division collegiate baseball level. But yeah, St. Louis, they were basically almost had the same squad as last year, minus a few outfielders and pitchers. But they added a guy in Bruin Agbayani,
who's pretty good,
who's going to the University of Michigan. So,
I said, he's pretty good.
Great story. And the Crusaders, they are buzzing, and that's kind of cool to see. Yeah, but again, you mentioned no Maui teams in the final. I mean,
First time since 2019 completely held out of the championship game.
Which I guess it's a good thing that they were co-champions last year, 2 Maui teams. So
true, I like that.
I guess the quota's been hit, so it's kind of cashing out a little bit in there.
Yeah, it all evens out. Law of averages and all of those things. I like that. The positive Paul cap from you in a way, shape, and form. Like you mentioned, Bruin Agbayani off to Michigan next year. He ends up being the most outstanding player selected in the HHSAA Baseball Division I All-Tournament team. Overall, St. Louis placing plenty of members along it. And just in general, a great year of high school sports, especially on the diamond, a competitive one where I would say that we didn't get anyone close to what was the favorite winning this one. It was a couple of teams who really had to claw their way into the state championship, and they put together a really, really fun D1 final. Congratulations to St. Louis, and congratulations to Damien for their state championship victories as they return to the mountaintop. We're going to continue our baseball conversation coming on up. Michael mentioned HPU before. They do a great job recruiting local talent. Well, I got a chance to chat with HPU head coach Dane Fujinaka yesterday after the NCAA Division II tournament selection show, and get his reaction to both the show and what has been a really fun season for the Sharks. That's coming on up after the break. You don't want to miss it. You're listening to HSRN's Wake Up in the Den on 95.1 FM and AM 760.
DSE Hawaii, a proud supporter.
Back to more Wake Up in the Den with Paul Brecht and Michael Lasquero on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Back here for Wake Up in the Den. Paul Brecht, Michael Lasquero on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM, AM 760, and hawaiisportsradio.com. Also streaming live on our YouTube channel, Hawaii Sports Radio Network. If you're joining us there, thank you so much for joining in on the fun, and I hope you enjoy our studio. We're slowly but surely getting a little bit more decoration up now that we have all the sound panels up and around. Ku has brought in her, what is that? Is that a Cubs or is that a Bears flag? One way or another, one of her season ticket Chicago flags. I'll sneak some Jet stuff in here as well. We got a whole bunch of decorating to do as we continue to make home inside our new studio, and I don't know how much longer I can really call it a new studio. We moved over here a decent period ago, but we moved over here at the start of the HPU baseball season, which is now all POW, unfortunately, for the Sharks, as they were disappointed on Sunday. They watched the selection show for Division II and end up not being one of the 6 teams in the Western region to make it. Only 2 squads from the Pac West in Point Loma and Westmont end up being representatives in the NCAA tournament, and disappointing because it certainly felt like HPU had done enough in a lot of areas. A really tough schedule, one of the best offenses in the country, a pitching staff that continued to figure it out, multiple good performances against top 10 opponents, a more competitive game against Westmont in the Pac West tournament, showing that they're playing at a higher level than I would say Point Loma as well. Those two obviously splitting their 2 matchups during both the regular season and then also during the postseason during the Pac West tournament. Overall, though, unfortunately for HPU, disappointment on selection show Sunday as the Sharks left out of the NCAA tournament. But nonetheless, graciously, HPU head coach Dane Fujinaka spoke with me afterwards and talked a little bit about the emotions that the team was feeling, that he was feeling after not getting a ticket punched into the tournament, but also after what was a historic year in many, many different ways for the Sharks. This was what HPU head coach Dane Fujinaka had to say yesterday when I got a chance to chat with him after the selection show.
All right, here after the season officially ends with HPU baseball head coach Dane Fujinaka. Coach, all the guys together to watch the selection show today. Unfortunately, it doesn't come through with a bid for you guys, but it completes what has been another phenomenal season on an upward trend for your team. Talk to me a little bit about the emotions of today, going through that with your guys and watching the show.
Yeah, obviously it's disappointing. We put together a really good season and, 32 wins and one of the toughest schedules in the country. But, it is what it is, and the committee had to make a tough decision. And congrats to, Montana State Billings and SF State for getting in. I think they're just as deserving. So, it's a tough pill to swallow, and obviously really bummed for the seniors and the guys that really the leaders that took us to where we are. I certainly think this is a team that is good enough to play in the NCAA tournament. So not being able to prove that, obviously is disappointing. But at the same time, I'm super proud of them and really happy for this group because they accomplished something that no other HPU team has, which is win some games in the Pac West tournament. So and then I was telling them that win against Point Loma is something that I think those seniors can really hang their hat on. That's one of the best wins that I've ever been a part of as a player or coach. And and then for the returners, the message was to remember this feeling for the next 365 days, and hopefully we're in a better mood after the selection show come next year. But overall feelings, just super proud of our group and our coaching staff and our players, and I'm already looking forward to next year.
And then you kind of mentioned what is it for the returners that you hope they take away from the feeling of today or from this season as a whole as you guys try to continue that upward trajectory into next season?
Yeah, I think it's using it as some motivation. It's I think for the freshmen and sophomores, guys that maybe haven't felt this type of maybe disappointment or expectation before, it's them just carrying it along, and this is the expectation of HPU baseball now of making a push into the postseason, and soon enough hopefully it's going to be to get into the NCAA tournament is going to be a yearly thing for this program. So I think for them it's just making sure that this doesn't happen again, and the way you do that is you just take care of every day and take care of every rep and every pitch over the next 365 days, which, knowing the group that we have coming back, I'm very confident that they're going to take care of what they need to over the next year.
And then talking about that group coming back, obviously a lot of talented returners, but losing a lot of talented players from this year's senior class. What does the offseason kind of look like for you guys? What does the recruiting look like for you guys? What does this team need as you reload for another year?
Yeah, there's a lot that will happen, I'm sure, within the next couple of months with college baseball as a whole on the recruiting side. But yeah, I mean, we were kind of in a similar situation last year when we lost all those guys, both in the portal and graduate. So, college baseball it's a funny game now where anything can happen. And it was pretty uncertain for us going into the summer last year, and then with the amount of guys returning, we have a really good core group coming back. We have a lot of seniors that were a huge impact this year that we're certainly going to miss. But I think that if you have a good team and a good program, that happens every year. And I believe in our coaching staff, I believe in our culture, and this being the fourth year that we've improved, it's really, it makes me feel really good about where we're continuing to go and just continue to get better is the main focus.
And then last question for you, as you head into the offseason, any message for the fans who came out to support you this year, whether that was on the road here in Hawaii or anywhere in between?
Yeah, no, it was absolutely amazing. The amount of texts and calls that I've got and our team has got by family, friends, you guys, and it's just it's pretty cool to get that type of support and to see guys reach out, and alumni. A lot of alumni were following us this postseason, which I think for me is a big deal because it says that, hey, we're doing the right things, we're going in the right direction, and I want to say thank you to everybody who's followed us and supported us this past year and previous years as well, and to keep following us, and we're gonna get there, and we are getting there. So
appreciate it, Coach. Thanks.
And that was HPU baseball head coach Dane Fujinaka following the NCAA Division II selection show yesterday. The Sharks, unfortunately, not getting an at-large bid to the tournament, despite going 2-2 in a very, very stacked Pac-West tournament. The top two seeds from the conference go on in Westmont, the number 2 seed in the region, in the Western region. Point Loma, the number 3 seed in the region. The Sharks' season ends at 32-22. They go 2-2 in the Pac-West Conference tournament. They fell to Point Loma on day number 1, 14-5, but then bounced back with a huge 11-5 victory over Biola. And then in the same exact day, take down Point Loma in what Dane mentioned in that interview, one of the best games he's ever been a part of. And that was something that he really did say to the team after they found out that their season did officially end after that loss to Westmont. And they end up going into the Pac-West Championship game needing to win 2 if they wanted to steal the automatic qualifier bid. And unfortunately for them, they fall 5-3 to Westmont College, a top 10 ranked team in the country. Almost top 5. I believe they're number 6 currently. So a really good squad. Gave them the best game. HPU gave Westmont the best game that the Warriors got in the entire tournament, but nonetheless, they don't give you much for close. You got to actually get the win, and that seems to be at least what the sentiment is coming out of HPU's clubhouse now, is that, we did a nice job scheduling, very difficult, but we also have to take a few more of those games. And I like that thought process as well, as they're disappointed, but at the end of the day, they're looking at what they can do better first, and I think that is part of the reason why you continue to see Dane Fujinaka and his staff improve this program higher and higher. Michael, I know you got a chance to kind of get close with them this year. I just want to get your thoughts quickly on kind of what you saw from them throughout the year and what you like going into the off season for this program.
Yeah, this team, they definitely have what it takes. They definitely have a resume to, be in the NCAA tournament. And you kind of look at back though, it's kind of you kind of question, you kind of think of what ifs, right? And I think there was that one game against Chaminade at the end where they could have got that game we did on radio against Biola, where I had to step in for Alan Mia. We had to tag out and whatnot.
Let's blame Allen for that one.
He will blame Allen for that one. But yeah, I mean, I do like. I mean, it kind of sucks for HPU fans, but it is something for Chaminade fans. I know they're on the rise. That hey, maybe that win kept HPU out of the tournament, because I do like the fact that we are making an effort to grow the game here locally, right? I know Hilo is also they were a thorn last year. I remember we done a bunch of Hilo games and they just somehow always beat HPU. Paul, when we were on the call,
always Chaminade, it was unreal.
Yeah, and Chaminade, they're in the come up with Coach Chad, and credit to too for Rich Hill for helping to develop that. So I do think I'm just saying that because it means that hey, come out and support these teams. And Coach D mentioned the alumni, and that's really good to see. I know I believe his name is Rico Garcia in the majors right now, who is an HPU alum. So that he was very sharing a lot of our coverage of HPU. So that's great to see. The first game back in Hans, maybe we can get some additional upgrades to Hans. There used to be a press box in Hans. Maybe we'll get that situated above the third base dugout. So hopefully that happens. You mentioned the off season. I think one thing that the HPU needs is a really solid starting pitcher. I think we're going to lose that with Connor Horrigan, who I was a bit surprised he wasn't the starting pitcher to start against Point Loma on day one, because he was the starting pitcher when they defeated Point Loma in game one. And I don't know if throwing a freshman out there was necessarily the best choice, but that just kind of shows you the lack of pitching, elite pitching depth that you need to win in these tournaments when they're back-to-back consecutive days. And I think the HPU schedule during the year, sometimes it was, hey, we have one day you have a doubleheader on Saturday or a doubleheader on Monday, right? There's a day off, or you go Thursday, Friday, Saturday. They definitely benefited from that. But in the tournament, when you need pitching, Ryan and Noy had phenomenal,
unbelievable on the one day pitching twice. Is truly an impressive effort. Yeah,
but yeah, they just need to lock down some arms in the transfer portal and recruiting, because we can hit, man. We know there's some clutch hits. Noah Blight, really huge, and a lot of players huge. We can hit for sure. We just need to not put us in a situation where the Sharks need to not put us in situations where you have to hit. I mean, because they will claw, they will scrap, they will fight their way back from deficits all year.
But it would be nice to not always have to do that, I'm sure.
Yes, it would be nice to not always have to do that. And hopefully, NIL is a thing. So HPU, you guys are a private university, so a lot of kids that go there without scholarships can afford it. As a former HPU student myself, so alumni, get on board with this team. Pour in some money, because they have a home field that they can play on. And baseball's king. When it's not football season, baseball is king in the spring, and this is a fun team to support. And we are losing a lot of arms in the portal, to graduation. Excuse me, Vicente Molina. Makana Kia is also graduating, and there's a lot of arms that we're losing. So
what was it, 16 seniors or something along the line?
17 listed, seniors, yeah. So we need to replenish that, and if you are HPU alumni or fans of, support this team. I don't know who the NL coordinator is at HPU. We need to just kind of establish that.
We got to get that up.
My number is, I'm just kidding. But yeah, we need because this is a program to build around. So show them your support. And yeah, it's a very fun. I do. Never mind. That's another
day.
No, it's more of a joking thing for our group chat.
Gotcha. Yeah. All right. Either way, a fun year for HPU to continue on the progress under Dane Fujinaka. I mentioned it before, 32-22, over the 30-win mark once again. They return to the Pac-West tournament. They get the first postseason victories of Fujinaka's HPU career. So much to build off of. Want to give a shout-out to Bronson Rivera, Noah Blythe, all the seniors who are graduating from HPU. I know
Danjo.
I know some of them will be looking for opportunities, whether that'll be in the Major League Draft or whether that be some of them do have additional years of eligibility remaining. I'm curious to see should they go up to the Division I level, and I have to imagine recruiting will be somewhat easy for the Sharks. Easy is a stretch because nothing in recruiting is easy, but I have to imagine they have a few cards they can play in recruiting now where if you are a pitcher, you look at this Sharks offense and, I mean, why wouldn't you want to join it? Because you know, even if you don't have your best stuff, you're still going to have an offense that typically has your back. And if you are very good, there's a good chance you're going to have one of the best seasons out there. And then on top of that, if you're a hitter, why wouldn't you want to come join what Richie Higa and Skylar Yamamoto and this entire young coaching staff is building for HPU, one of the top 11 offenses in the country this year in nearly every single category. Really, really impressive what they're building over there at HPU. Got to continue on, though, and you have to do that by continuing to add some more good players via the transfer portal and the young players that they had this year watching. You got to take a step forward as well. We got to take a step aside for a quick break. When we return, we'll talk some baseball after a big-time win on the road against Cal State Fullerton, a needed victory, series victory against Cal State Fullerton, setting up a win and you're in series this weekend against UC San Diego for senior weekend. You won't want to miss our conversation. That's coming up next here on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Happy Nurses Week! Hawaii Pacific Health would like to take this occasion to celebrate our nurses. They are compassionate, dedicated, and truly exceptional members of our team. Our nurses help answer the call. Our nurses help see you through. They're always there to help Hawaii's patients, families, and communities become stronger and healthier. Mahalo, nurses, for all that you do at Hawaii Pacific Health each and every day.
Dial Electric Supply is Hawaii's premier lighting distributor and supplier, serving commercial and retail customers alike. Located at 2240 Kalua Opalena Street, Dial Electric's expanded retail showroom features one of the largest selections of lighting fixtures, fans, and smart home lighting solutions. Schedule an appointment with one of their design experts to create a home lighting design that you will enjoy for many years to come. Visit dialelectricsupply.com or give them a call at 808-845-7811.
How is your drive to school?
Let me tell you.
You're listening to Wake Up in the Den with Paul Brecht and Michael Lasquero on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, AM 760 and 95.1 FM, and streaming on hawaiisportsradio.com.
Back here on Wake Up in the Den with Paul Brecht, Michael Lasquero. No Ku'ule Agbayani today. She also, I think, said no Ku'ule Agbayani tomorrow as she travels back, but I'm not totally sure, so don't yell at me.
Yes, she is flying out tomorrow morning.
All right, that's what I thought, which means you beautiful people get day 2 of Michael and I as well, and hopefully I am not miserable from a New York Knicks game, but I don't know. We'll talk about that later on. We're talking baseball now, though, after the Rainbow Warriors pick up a massive and critical series victory on the road over Cal State Fullerton, a team above them currently in the Big West standings as they continue jockeying for position into the conference tournament. Top 5 teams from the conference make it currently. Hawaii looking like they can make it. They're sitting tied for that number 4, 5, 6 spot. It's a three-way tie for 4th right now. UC Santa Barbara, UC San Diego, and UH, all 14 and 13 entering the final weekend of the regular season. Cal State Fullerton, 17 and 10. A lot to figure out with this one. We'll talk a little bit about the standings, the stakes, and that. But first, I want to just go over what the weekend was. It started out with a critical 8-7 victory on Friday. That one was much needed for the Rainbow Warriors after falling 3 out of 4 against Oregon State at home and entering these final 2 weeks in almost must-win mode. Freddie Rodriguez picks up the win. Isaiah Magdaleno picks up a save, and it was Hawai'i with a big-time second inning that blew the game open, and from there picks up a big-time victory behind just enough pitching. Then comes Saturday, they fall 9-1, just no real offense put together. They were getting no hit for a large portion of the day, setting up a critical rubber match on Sunday, and Hawai'i with UC San Diego in a massive lead over UC Davis, entered must-win territory. They end up doing exactly that. Get a 10-2 victory to grab a key series victory against Cal State Fullerton as they enter the final weekend of the regular season. They'll face UC San Diego for senior weekend. Thursday, Friday, and Sunday is your senior weekend festivities. We'll be out there. Hope to see all of you beautiful people there as well. It continues to be one of the hottest tickets in town. But Michael, this was an encouraging sign, I thought, for the Rainbow Warriors as they enter must-win mode. We just talked about it with HPU. The last thing you want to do is leave your fate in somebody else's hands, whether it is the committee, whether it is needing help from other teams. You can't rely on that. So when you have your destiny in your own hands, when you have the ability to control what happens to you, I have to imagine that is a much more comfortable feeling for Rich Hill and his team entering this final weekend.
Yeah, because Hawaii teams usually do well on senior night, right?
Yes.
In every sport, and so to put yourself in a position to get to control your own destiny, this is what you want in your last game at home. We talk about senior night, or it's gonna be senior day on Sunday. It's kind of interesting though, because it's a Thursday, Friday, right?
Yep.
So I don't know if the fans are gonna necessarily be there on a Thursday night when you kind of want to get that series opener. Then you have Saturday with the whole with graduation and all that. So I don't know if there's some added stress. I think there's still some finals going on as well. So it's kind of a interesting week. But again, if they can get to Sunday with a chance to win the series, I think they'll come out and win. I mean, we saw it last year. What did the other team start with? Like 2 home runs to start last year's senior game, but we still come out and pull out the victory. The Bulls did. So, yeah, this baseball team, I know they've kind of we haven't had Manoa Magic in a while. So,
why not on senior weekend, you're saying?
Yeah, we're going to have some Manoa Magic this week.
I like the way that you think. As they enter this senior weekend, they go against the UC San Diego team that's been also pretty up and down. They have a pair of victories against UC Irvine on their resume. UC Irvine currently leading the Big West entering the final weekend as they are 23-4 in conference play. Cal Poly sitting at second place at 20-7, and Cal State Fullerton 17-10. All three of them have clinched spots in the tournament, though no seeding has necessarily been finalized quite yet. You have 3 teams fighting for 2 spots in UC Santa Barbara, Hawai'i, and UC San Diego. All 3 of them 14-13 entering this final weekend. UC San Diego and Hawai'i playing against each other. That one essentially a play-in series for whoever wins the series. You get in to the Big West tournament. UC Santa Barbara, they'll take on Cal State Bakersfield. Bakersfield second to last in the conference this season at 8-19 in league play, but they are by no means, as we've seen, a free win, so you can't assume a sweep either way for them. Cal State Fullerton gets UC Irvine. They're on the road facing the Anteaters to close things out. So Hawai'i funny enough, they can finish anywhere from not in the tournament up to the 3rd seed in this one as they go into this final weekend should they sweep UC San Diego and get a little bit of help from UC Irvine over Fullerton, because Hawaii holds the tiebreaker over both UC Santa Barbara and Fullerton. So gonna be interesting. Got to take care of business first for themselves.
I'm not even looking at the scenarios, Paul. You just got to take care of what's in front of you, right? The fact that they could go from not being in the tournament to being 3rd. This sounds like men's basketball all over again, Paul. So let's not even think about the scenarios and what
Fair.
we need to happen. Let's just go out and win.
That's at the end of the day, the biggest thing. You just have to go out and win. And Hawaii, to their credit, has been outstanding when it comes to winning overall this season, especially at home. 23-9 inside the friendly confines of Les Murakami Stadium. And, they're going to need at least 2 more victories to get into the Big West Conference tournament. That all gets figured out later this week. Be sure to keep up with us on social media at High Sports Radio, or follow Michael Lasquero or I on X to get all the updates up to date as they go throughout the end of this regular season. Got to step aside for our final break of the day. When we come back, I think we've held off long enough, Michael. I think we can talk a little bit NBA basketball to close this one. Maybe I'll change my mind. We'll see. Stick around. We'll see what we close things out here on Wake Up in the Den with. You're listening to 95.1 FM and AM 760.
The Honolulu.
Back to more Wake Up in the Den with Paul Brecht and Michael Lasquero on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Closing out hour number 2 here on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network. Paul Brecht, Michael Lasquero. While the boss is away, the boys shall play Ku'ule Agbayani back on the continent, covering the men's volleyball national tournament. She flies back tomorrow, so you'll actually be stuck with us not just today, but tomorrow as well. Mahalo so much for tuning on in, whether it is on your radios, 95.1 FM, AM 760, or on our website, streaming hawaiisportsradio.com, or of course, if you are joining us like we're live every Monday on our YouTube channel at Hawaii Sports Radio Network. If you haven't yet, drop a subscription, drop a like, drop a comment. Go check out some of our other videos. Our Ku'ule Agbayani and Michael Lasquero work exceptionally hard to bring a lot of different content, whether it is HPU, whether it is UH, whether it is high school sports, everything in between we bring to you. And that's what we chatted about for basically the entire day today after a packed weekend of both college and high school sports.
And we still got more high school to talk about tomorrow, Paul.
And that's the beautiful thing, is that we didn't even get to all of it today because Koo said that we have another day, I decided that we were going to spread it out. We didn't even get to girls water polo today, boys volleyball today. So much extra to discuss. And then, of course, there's always college stuff. And
you mean you're not going to devote a whole hour to rant about the Knicks?
Hopefully not. I can't promise anything, but that does lead us into a little bit of an NBA conversation. The draft lottery later today at 1 p.m. Hawaii time, 7 p.m. Eastern time, 4 p.m. Pacific time. I think those are all the major ones. Everybody else knows. If you're in one of the funky ones outside of that, I'm pretty sure you know what time it is comparatively, but nonetheless, 7 p.m. Eastern time, 1 p.m. Hawaii time, the NBA draft lottery today. As what was it? Capture the flag was this year's little motto for all the tanking teams, and it should be a fun one. Exciting for those teams. Nice for me and nice for you that really have to worry about the draft lottery all that much. Correct me if I'm wrong. You guys don't have any extra picks from any extraneous trades, right? Where you're expecting a pick tonight in the lottery?
No, we have traded we traded like a whole bunch of first round picks for Pascal Siakam,
right,
who has elevated the Indiana Pacers timeline. And we are title contenders, baby.
Yeah, take me into yesterday. Talk to me a little bit about your emotions watching the Pacers go up 3-1 over the Cavs. This is year 2 in a row now that Indiana just, I don't want to say proving people wrong, because that would almost imply that it feels like they shouldn't be here, but it kind of like you said, increasing the timeline, speeding up the timeline for the Pacers with Pascal Siakam. It feels like they have arrived to the point where they could challenge for an NBA championship as soon as this year. How was yesterday for you? How was watching that annihilation, that's the word I'll use, of the Cavs?
Yes, it was another Mother's Day massacre, which, by the way, shout out to all the mothers out there. Happy belated Mother's Day to you. But I think Tyrese Halliburton had a quote where what his ability to do as a point guard is, it's kind of like the team mom. You just kind of try to make everybody happy, and I guess that's really the case because second straight year there is a massacre on Mother's Day, and last year the Knicks was the unfortunate recipient of that in Game 7, Madison Square Garden, and in yesterday's game the Pacers were up 41 points at halftime. How did this game end? It ended with 7 minutes and 37 seconds in the fourth quarter of James Johnson playing point guard.
The human white flag, James Johnson?
No, the guy is known as Bloodsport because he is a better MMA artist than he is a basketball player. He's the guy you don't want no smoke with. But yes, we had James Johnson playing point guard for the last 7 minutes or so of this game.
Allie.
But yeah, the Pacers, and the thing for me as a Pacers fan is like, I keep waiting for the drop off, right? I keep waiting to get disappointed. And like, it'll happen like here and there. And just like, yesterday's game, they closed out the second quarter, the first half, with a 19-2 run. And that 2 run was, that 2 that they gave up happened in the last minute before Aaron Nesmith just also hit kind of a fadeaway a la Michael Jordan to give us an 80-piece after the first half. It was kind of funny watching the TNT players because I think Obi Toppin, former Knick from Dayton, had a kind of a similar up and under layup as Dr. J, and apparently it was like 45 years since that highlight. So
it's fun.
They were having fun, calling the Pacers, Olajuwon or Aaron Nesmith with the fadeaway Michael Jordan. But yeah, it's about adjustments in the playoffs, and when the Cavs were running a 3-2 zone against the Pacers last game, that kind of bothered us with their length, right? Because DeAndre Hunter came back, Evan Mobley came back from his injury, as well as Darius Garland, and that kind of bothered us with their length up top. But we found the Pacers found solutions for that because none of their guards are really good point of attack defenders, which Manoa, you need to get better at that. That's the story for another day, but. Yeah, so what happens is we would just force switches, and the guards had to guard our bigs, and it was barbecue chicken at that point. I think Miles Turner, Pascal Siakam, and Obi Toppin all scored 20 points. So our bigs were feasting on the undersize on the switches, and yeah, it's about adjustments. And Kenny Atkinson didn't adjust. And it kind of goes back to Cavs, I guess, for firing JB Bickerstaff because they were injured in the playoffs last year, thinking that would fix it. So it's almost kind of a comeuppance for the Cavs. But and Donovan Mitchell has an ankle injury, and supposedly during the warm-ups third quarter, it's looking like it's gonna be over soon. But the Pacers still need to take care of business. But yeah, the Eastern Conference Finals is gonna be a bloodbath. Whoever arrives.
Yeah, I am excited for you. Very, very fun. I'm excited for me, too, because I have fallen into the delusion that the Knicks are just going to follow whatever the Pacers do in this round. So the Knicks are obviously going to win via blowout today because that's exactly what the Pacers did yesterday. Obviously, if you can't tell, I'm being slightly facetious. I'm not totally sure that the Knicks are going to win, but I do think it'll be a better effort from my Knicks today. It needs to be as they enter what is almost as pivotal as a normal, going into a game 3 in a series tied 1-1. I almost feel that is the level of intensity that today needs to be for the Knicks. Up 2-1, obviously, the last thing you want to do after snatching home court advantage away from the Celtics is to give it right back. And it's not that the Knicks can't win 4 games in this series, but it becomes a lot easier to just win 1 game in 4 tries than have to win 2 in 3 against a team who seems to figure it out more and more by the day. That one should be a lot of fun later, and I hope you guys can pray for me a bit because it's going to take probably about 5 more years off my life.
Maybe the seats should not be so expensive. So
I don't disagree.
The passionate fans, that aren't worried about looking good on the sideline, can actually be there and cheering.
Wear the shirts. That's something that drives me crazy. I wish fans, because some fans have done such a great job. That's something in Indiana that they do so exceptionally well. And a lot of these, a little bit smaller market, the fans love to wear those shirts. I think it makes for such a great atmosphere. It is wonderful. One more time, the NBA Draft Lottery later today. That's 1 p.m. Hawaii time, 7 p.m. Eastern. But that'll just about do it for us here today, as talked a lot of local sports. We'll have even more tomorrow. For Michael Lasquero, I'm Paul Brecht. Thanks so much for listening. We'll chat with you later. Aloha.
KGUA.